happy Prime Tuesday, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our final 2024 episode of How Would You Slice That? If you're not familiar with the show, we try to balance a little bit of community chat time with slicing discussions, maybe tips and tricks and some techniques or tours of making your ideas real in your slicer. Usually we have a guest each time we do an episode, almost at each week. This episode's going to be a little bit different because it is the last day of our first year of the show. We thought we would just do a little bit of a recap and just reflect on what the year was like. Now, as always, I have my co-host here, which is Dr. Lawrence Nightingale. Hello, Lawrence.
Hey, Vicky, how are you? It's been a great year. And I'm glad to be talking about all the things that we've done with this amazing podcast. How would you slice that? Since January and the start of this whole thing, it's been wonderful. I can't wait to show off or recap some of the things that have happened.
Now, the show's been evolving a lot over the past year, but one of the things we do tend to do is we start with some banter between me and Lawrence. So
Yes.
why don't we keep that tradition going?
Absolutely.
Lawrence, what do you have for the banter today?
The banter. Well, let's see here. My 3D printing club at Nova. They had a 3D printed Christmas ornament sale. And they sold $250 worth of Christmas ornaments, which is really, really good. You know, what's great about that is that the price of production is so low, but and you can clear a lot of, I'm gonna use the word profit, for the group doing things that you can 3D print. Right now, the best thing about it is that the sale has come and gone, and we actually produced enough stuff to sell at a decent price. The worst part about it is that it's really, really hard to sell into other holidays, right? Like, Valentine's Day, maybe, or, St. Patrick's Day, that's not really going to work, So, the holiday ornament exchange, ornament sale is great, but we're looking for another holiday in which people would actually buy some, a small decoration that fits into the 3D printing world. Then also, of course, I've been 3D printing all kinds of Christmas ornaments. This is a TIE fighter made up to look like a snowflake, right? And
I think Pez Liz, one of our guests, would be proud of the colors that you incorporated in there.
Yes, beautiful. And I got loaded for bear. I did the Christmas color, holiday Christmas colors, and then don't tell these guys that I made this without paying any without paying any fees. But this one was really, really fun to make. And then of course the Grinch had a friend come over and pick one out, and we printed it up right away.
And I saw someone on the Facebook group, they printed a Grinch but messed up the colors, but they were in verse, but they still looked really cool.
Real, oh yeah. That one, the Grinch does lend itself to all kinds of very accepting of I'm gonna use the words miscalculations on color. So I didn't get lucky. I planned to have those colors. Myself and my daughter, we went to our local filament provider. I like to get stuff in person, or I don't know, it might be my poor planning. But we go to Micro Center right here in Northern Virginia, pick it up and come on home and get started versus ordering it online. That's kind of our methodology right now. My sidekick, she picked out a green for the holidays that she was really excited about. It turned out to be an aqua green. So, it's just one of those things, it said green on the box. It's like, yes, this is the green we need for the holidays. It's much more like a springtime type of color. So we'll save that for later. We got more options coming up. So
sure. And if your sidekick ever needs it, I know it doesn't necessarily help when you're physically at Micro Center, but the filament librarian has filamentcolors.xyz.com, where he takes pictures of swabs of the filaments and gives you the hex values and maybe the Pantone value.
Oh, okay.
Sounds that right. So to kind of help you get a idea of what the colors are going to end up like.
Oh, okay, cool. And then the only other thing, hopefully I'm not doing too much banter, but I got into true desktop manufacturing for a project for work. All right, so these are
like maker chips.
These are maker chips, but they're for a professional development conference that we're having at my college. So on the front side is a symbol for the Wonder Professional Development Conference at my college. All right, and of course, who can resist learning from a unicorn? And then on the other side is the URL for the training website, like all the materials, all the things that you need to reference later on, all the great ideas that you've gotten. You can actually have those. You can have those kind of at your fingertips with one of these. I've got to go back. If anybody's got any ideas about how to kind of really work backwards on, I'm going to use the word, the sustainability of PLA as compared to other like materials like paper or other things that somebody might use to support a professional development conference. I'm trying to work on the use case for PLA and the sustainability therein. Because once you introduce something new to a bunch of smart people, which is what I'm going to do, they always come up with questions, and I know that's going to be one of the major ones. How sustainable is this? Are we doing what we think we're doing, or are we not doing what we think we're doing? But my position on it is that all told, this is less than a kilo of. I printed about 240 of these.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't weighed them yet, but they're probably less than a kilo for all 240, and 240 items that will help keep people up to date with their professional development at the cost of, let's say, my spools were probably about $30 each. So we're looking at about 60 cents a person to get this information that's going to be sustainable and referable, and also kind of maybe even something you would talk about later, and you can also use it year over year. So anyhow, looking at use cases for that right now and trying to make my case for that, so those are the things that I've been working on. I'm taking the 3D printing ideas that I pulled down and seeing how I can make them practical or like support things that people are doing around me, or make opportunities for celebration or noticing or even giving people the opportunity to be recognized through the 3D printing craft. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Nice.
How about you?
All right, I just have one little thing, which is to confess to everybody that the coolest print that came out of our household in 2024, I had nothing to do with. So I think we've mentioned before on the show that my oldest son has his own Bamboo Mini. Maker World has a Make My Statue feature. So he ran and took one picture of my husband, and he uploaded it to the Make My Statue. And then he pulled that into Tinkercad and he kind of cyborged it up. And then he printed it in, I think, the printed solid Jessie Vanilla Bean, which kind of looks like marble. And like this, to me, it's recognizably my husband. Like,
yes.
I look at that and I'm like, hubba, I will marry that guy again. I mean, not the but it's definitely my husband. Now, when you turn it to the side, it doesn't look as recognizable.
Not the same profile.
My husband, but definitely from the front. And this was from one picture. And so just absolutely blown away. And then awesome. A little while later, my son came. He's like, "Mom, can I take a picture of you?" So he's got something up his sleeve there.
Well, that is probably one of the most creative things I've seen anybody do in the 3D printing space. But I would also say that it's not true that you didn't have anything to do with it. All those 3D printed derby cars, all those 3D prints that you've done, all the stuff that you have around, you had a lot to do with it. He's just kind of following in your footsteps, although your footsteps are way over there versus where you started out.
I
So you
think
got plenty to do with it.
he will
So that's
exceed
awesome.
me.
That is great. That is great. Wow. So
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, so we're gonna talk about everybody that came through the show and talk about the things that we can appreciate and give some updates and stuff like that. Are you want to kick it off or?
Yeah, sure. So, the heart of the show is the community time and talking to the guests. So let's give them their time to shine here today as well. So our opening show on January 2nd, 2024 was
Woo.
Todd Blatt from We the Builders. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Like every periodically I'm seeing like internet issues, even though I'm on the wired internet today.
Oh, wow.
All right. So Mr. Blatt was kind enough to be our very first guest, and it happened to be good timing because We the Builders were working on their Love Beats in 3D project. And so it was like they're soliciting or getting the community to contribute parts. So during the show, he kicked it off with something new to me right away, where he showed us Luban software and how he used it to slice up 3D models into all the separate hundreds of parts that they do for their community builds. And then we also talked a little bit about orientation in 3D printing and the features in at least 3 of the slicers where you can separate a 3D model into parts. So you can use those to orient them to the best that, every little piece of the print can have its optimal orientation. And then as far as updates with what's going on, we have a few things. Let me open up a web browser here and throw this over. Let's mute that. The Love Beats in 3D. So pause that real quick. Yay. The Love Beats in 3D project did finish on time, and it was displayed in Miami. And as you may recall, it was a lighting project too. So everything was printed in translucent PLA, and then they ran different LED wires through it and did different beautiful patterns of coloring. And then another quick update for We the Builders is they have a new project right now. I think all of the parts are claimed, but you'll want to keep an eye out on it as this is the part of time where they're checking parts in and things don't, if things don't make it, you can claim and save the day and be a hero. But they're doing, hope I pronounce this right, Charon's Toll, which is the in the Greek mythology, the ferryman, but over that river that takes you to the land of the dead. It was sculpted by Ryan Kittleson, someone that's been in the arena and was big in the early Shapeways days when I first started 3D printing. And one of the neat things, it is going to be printed in translucent colors as well, but they're also suggesting that maybe you put a coin inside your piece. So that'll be neat to see what people do there. And of course, the inspiration for that is when people died, you would give them coins so they could pay the ferryman to get across the river.
Yes, the river Styx. I really enjoyed talking with Todd, because it really kind of emphasized the what we really want to get to, which is kind of the collective, the community, and also kind of the creativity and the way that everybody can contribute using this 3D printing technology. So I really enjoyed talking with Todd and learning about the different ways in which we can contribute to We the Builders. So yeah, that was a great kickoff. It was a great kickoff.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Link it to the chat.
And then the next person that we had on the show was Paul Chase. We had him on the second to last week in January, and Paul is somebody that has been at the heart of the 3D printing build and technology space over at Nova Labs. There used to be a 3D printing build group where they did custom builds on 3D printers, starting from a recapitulation of the of the Prusa style printers, which they stuck with. And they had some of them were, there you go, there's Paul. Some of them were 20 by 20 extrusions, and some of them were wood, custom electronics. But Paul has been just so instrumental in getting so many people into the hobby. And so when we visited with Paul, he showed us around his workshop, and showing us the difference, the big printers, the small printers, his Max Z height printers. He's also working been working a lot with the Prusa XL. He was one of the beta testers for that, and he's continuing to really make sure that the No Labs Makerspace is a good place to be part of the 3D printing experience. And then this is a picture from the Nova Maker Fair, which was in Alexandria City High School this year. We both were able to go. I did not have a table, but yeah, that's Paul. That's Paul with his 3D printed hat, and he's always good to be the center of attention and like the fun person attending these things. So yeah. That's Paul there, and then that is your 3D printed. Oh my gosh, it's not Nietzsche. Who's
Kurt Vonnegut? Kurt Vonnegut Jr.
Kurt Vonnegut. Yes.
Yeah.
Your Kurt Vonnegut sculpture here, and so yeah, that, and it brings, of course, the opportunities for us to cross over from, online conversation to in-person conversation. That's one of my favorite parts of us doing the how would you slice that as well. Been very, very rewarding to see people in real life.
And I think one of my biggest wow factors from the Paul Chase episode, and I very much I stay in my lane, I do my little things. So I hadn't thought too much about the belt printers. So when he was showing us how they slice it, and it's just the infinite Z levels,
yes.
that was pretty impactful to me. Like, that was my takeaway lesson from there.
Yeah, the slicing of the Z belt printers and the orientation they need in order to do that is really, it's a different way of thinking. Like, you almost have to shift everything, but like, it's, to me, the ease in which Paul was talking about that and really showing us how that worked is really, it illustrates just kind of how he thinks about the whole thing globally, because he was started working on the belt printer. I don't want to fib. I feel like he was working on the belt printer, starting to work on the belt printer 2021, 2022. So he's been at it. and that thinking kind of comes through. And I'm really, really glad that he was able to share with us how he's working with that technology and moving things forward.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Our next one on February 13th, 2024, we had Steve McDonald. You may know him by Layer Creations. And he's had a lot of buzz in the community for his rings that he makes. So you may have seen like his 3-fingered rings for the East Coast Rip Rap Festival or for the Rocky Mountain Rip Rap Festival. So he was kind enough to come on the show, and he showed us like how he made those rings in Shaper 3D, gave us a live tutorial demonstration. He even started our own little how would you slice that ring, already like kind of legitimizing our show only on episode 3.
Yeah.
Another neat thing I liked in his episode was he was showing us some earrings that he made, and he was using concentric infill to add a nice little pattern to some hair in some earrings. So I really enjoyed learning from him on the episode. As far as what he's up to now, he's just continuing to design away, and he's also continuing his explorations in No Man's Scope. And if you go to any of the other streamers, you may recognize, he's a familiar face in the chat, and he's also a familiar face at the 3D printing festivals. He was a guest on a really good episode of Meet the Polymaker in September. I'm going to throw this into the chat because that's where you can get a really in-depth on Steve and what he's up to. And also, if you were at 3D Printopia, you may, let's see, that's in the poll. That's another poll. But if you're at 3D Printopia, I'm going to open up a different way. You may have met or heard Steve and didn't even know that you were listening to him, because he was the official voice of 3D Printopia. He did all our announcements and all our MC.
There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed meeting Steve. I was floored at the scale of his print farm and how many printers he has available and is using it on an active basis. So it was really, really great to see somebody that was big into design, but also really, really active with the machinery as well. I mean, before, my practice in 3D printing emphasized a lot of different formats for different kinds of printers, different materials, working on increasing speed and accuracy and things like that. I was really, really glad that I was able to, that we were able to talk with Steve, because he really kind of embodies somebody who works really, really hard to do things well with the machines, and also elevates things with his ability to design. And especially since he took his ability to design and made a ring for how to slice that. So
yeah. And also he just brings such a joy and infectious joy too.
He really did, and I enjoyed meeting him at 3D Printopia as well. So it's somebody that I'm just going there's going to be producing a lot more, I'm sure, content and things to pay attention to in the 3D printing space going forward, for sure.
All right.
Yeah. And then on March the 5th, we had Tessa Nessie from Sparky Face 5, and she really gave us some great insights. Like, she showed us how to 3D model from a 3D drawing, which is something that we touch on from time to time, where you see technology come through that illustrates that. But she really gave us the opportunity to learn how to really do that hands-on. And then she shows how if you can orient the model to paint it with a plaid-like pattern with the layering tool, so that you can get patterns in your prints using Bamboo Studio, which is kind of mind-blowing.
That was such a neat discovery. Way back in the day with Simplify 3D, people got crazy with supports where they would angle their object, generate the supports, and then when they move their object back, they had the supports at an angle like what they wanted. And so it's kind of like a similar concept. Like, you angle your object, you go and use the layer tool and you paint it. Then you angle it a different place and use the layer tool and paint a different color. So it was just a really, really neat little hack, and it was discovered on the fly during that episode.
Yeah. So I was really, really glad that Tessa spent some time with us, and since she's been with us, she has started and has been the driving force behind Only Frogs. I mean,
Only Frogs.
who's never heard of Only Frogs before? Only Frogs, obviously, is the thing's repository for all things frogs, and she's really expanding the collection of 3D models for that. And then she's because she is so very strong in design, and we talk about design versus mechanics, or design a lot in this show, as it relates to making sure that you get the output that you're looking for through slicing. She's also designed some penguin models for the holidays, for the Christmas holidays.
Right. You know how they do the 12 days of Christmas? She did the 12 days of penguins, and a different penguin model every day. It sounds exhausting, but she did it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you can do something like that every day, you get better and better and better, and your contributions get more and more significant. So can't wait to see what Pezlis has in store for 2025.
Tessa, yeah.
I'm sorry. Tessa has in store for 2025, because I said Pezlis because she was interviewed by Pezlis, and you can see the video link.
I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. So just recently, Pezlis interviewed Tessa, and if you want to dive deep and learn more about her, then the link is in the chat now.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm, you know, actually, I'm going to definitely keep my eye on Pezlas because I'm sitting here thinking, what kind of ideas can I come up with for another holiday to sell? You know, maybe sell some things for the for the 3D printing club. You know, I might as well just kind of keep tracking Pezla. I mean, I might as well just keep tracking Tessa. She'll probably come up with an idea that I might be able to use. So yeah, absolutely. And so who was on after Tessa?
Okay, on March 19th, 2024, we had Karen Chow from Karen Chow Designs. And at the time, you know, just like how Tessa was doing the 12 Days of Penguins, Karen Chow is doing a challenge for herself, which was March Magnets, where she was
Yes.
making a magnet every day. And they're very delightful. I don't know how to pronounce it. The kawaii inspired
Why?
kind of.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So she when she was on the show, you know, we were talking about magnets and embedding magnets into prints and whatnot, but she also showed us how she colors her models, which it's so interesting. Like there's not always one right answer, one strategy to do with these things. And
Yes.
so she was coloring them in a completely different way than I was doing it, where everything was an individual part and it was getting assigned its different color, where I was going into the color painting tool and, like, you know, using the fill tool and everything like that. So she taught me that, which is going to save some time. And
She
she
saved a
also
ton
taught,
of time.
yeah. And she also taught us how she uses the print by assembly, where she could print part of her pie pieces and then maybe do the whipped cream, which is a different color. And so this would be saving time and purge waste with her process.
Yes, and I have actually used that technique several times since then to print faster instead of doing multicolor and switching and everything. It's a profound difference. Profound difference. I'm glad that she came on.
And since our show, she's been pretty busy designing and collaborating. You may remember in a later episode, we had talked about how she was collaborating with doing
You're
custom.
feeding out.
Oh
You sound a
no,
little bit.
sorry. It is a
All right, we're
wired
gonna
internet
buffer.
connection. I think maybe it's just spring winter break load. Everybody's home. And
Yes. Now I can
so
hear you now, though. You're great.
okay, I'll forge ahead. So the let me catch my thought here. Oh, okay. Yeah, so she collaborated with Jari 3D and did some custom face plates. I finally got to meet her in person, and I have some proof of that somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, I got to meet her in person at 3D Printopia, and here's my uh, documentation of that. It's another photo from the great and talented David Wheeler. See, that's me. That's Karen. We met in person for real.
Yes,
All right. Wait.
absolutely.
And you may notice here she has a clear backpack, which is a very ingenious idea of showcasing her designs, because she filled it with her designs, and as she's just walking and viewing the floor, people are able to see her designs. She's been, if you're following her, she's been doing a lot of squeaky toys, like little TPU squeaky ducks that actually squeak. And with her backpack, you know, she's walking around. She got the attention of Mr. Joel Telling, and so she's one of the people that he selected to do his 60 seconds nerds in 60 seconds piece. So here she is showing off her squeakers.
Wow, that's awesome. You you know what? I ran into Karen too at 3D Printopia, and I've got only faith. I've got a proof because I've got a little button from her. Actually, this is my daughter's button,
Yeah,
and yeah, and so and on the back, of course, Karen Chow design. And so it's funny because there's Karen Chow is very much, you know, part of my life experience now because my daughter also likes kawaii designs. So here we are. We are that style of design. You know, when we first ran into her, I was like, Karen, what is your design all about? And the only words I could come up with were cute. Cute. The cute thing is a big
definitely.
thing.
Definitely
But
cute.
yeah, but it's kawaii. The kawaii design aesthetic. That's a really big thing. Yeah.
And
And
then,
so
oh, sorry, one more thing. So right now she is working to moving her models and her portfolio over on Maker World, and you can find her there at KCD 3D. So that stands for
oh,
Karen Child Designs 3D. And she's also like layer by layer, she's dabbling in nomad sculpt. So she's adding some digital sculpting into her portfolio.
wow. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I know that Karen's going to be one of the larger people that gets a lot of downloads off the Maker World because her designs are just so infectious. So really looking forward to pulling some of those down and maybe keeping my daughter occupied with a few 3D prints before school goes back into session.
You get Mitch,
All
Lawrence.
right. And of course, next was Mitch Cerrone. And Mitch bought, Mitch was the person that had the most live viewers for How Would You Slice That? So he gets the prize for that. But, Mitch was really fun to work with because anybody that's been following 3D printing for the last, I'm using the word last 8 years, has seen a picture of Mitch with a 3D printer strapped to his back. And so, he gave us a sneak peek of his new 3D of his new backpack printer for the Rocky Mountain Rip Rap Festival, and then he finished that 3D printer, and now he's moved on to another one. We got to see his newest backpack 3D printer at 3D Printopia, and he's also got a great project out there now, the Cookie Catastrophe.
Oh, okay. Hold on, I got a video of that too. Turn off this.
Oh yes.
So it's based off of the old Catastrophe game that people used to play, and
Yes.
you have a time to put in the shapes.
Right.
So I think this was at I don't know.
3D Printopia.
Yeah, it was at 3D Printopia, but it's other places as well, maybe Open Sauce or Rocky Mountain Rip Rap Festival. And here what you're seeing is my poor son, and I don't think he's going to make it.
Me and Lily both tried that, and we both failed. So, but the young man that was doing the cookie catastrophe, he was very helpful. But even with all the help, we weren't able to get it through. Okay, and then this isn't a positron, is it?
It's a positron backpack printer.
Oh, it is.
So yeah. So on our show, he was doing a whole different backpack printer. He finished that one for Rocky Mountain Rip Rap Festival. And then he did another one. So this was the 2 backpack printer year for Mitch, at least that we know of.
Yeah, Mitch was really fun and interesting to talk to. I really liked the knowledge base and the experience that he was able to bring to How to Slice That. And just the fact that he can be a showcase for so many different ways in which to digitally fabricate. I really appreciated his time, and I must say some silly, but simple things like he went from using laptop batteries to power his printers to using power sources for drills and power tools because they had better life and better power kind of sustainability. So, just learn a detail like that is something that is so valuable, and I'm really glad that we were able to have him on the show to share some of those things. So Mitch was. I didn't go full fanboy, but it might have come close. Mitch, because I've seen Mitch so many times. Like I remember distinctly when I first saw him walking around the Midwest Rip Rap Festival and be like, wow, why don't we have one of those here closer to me? Oh my gosh, there's a guy walking around with a 3D printer on his back. So it was really good to have on.
All right. And then April 23rd, 2024, we had Al Shurin. He is the main moderator or the creator of the 3D Printing Club in Facebook that has like tens of thousands of users. He spent his 3D printing career and his Facebook group helping new people, answering their questions and getting them acclimated. And so in his episode, he shared some tips for people getting to start out. He shared so many of his projects, which are many over the years, and he including a nice little tribute that he did for Gold Star families, which even though it was in PLA and outside, it was weathering the elements very well.
Yeah.
As far as an update, Al has had some health struggles this year, but he's continuing printing. That hobby is still there for him. And in fact, even though he had some hospitalization time, he was able to print a gift for every member of his family this year.
Wow. Well, we'll pull for a quick recovery for Al for sure.
Oh yes, definitely.
Him. And what I liked about having Al on the show was the community aspect of how we really kind of use the technology to support people who are distinctive in the veteran community, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes we lose sight, maybe getting a little bit over focused on the technical things, and not really seeing how we can benefit our fellow person. So I'm really glad that we had Al on. It was a really good time. Yeah, and a speedy recovery once again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after we had Al on, we had Vladimir Mariano from Desktop Makes.
Yeah.
And he really showed us why he's so successful with as a Fusion 360 teacher, because he really gave us some good ideas and really showed us how to understand his process on designing. And then, I personally feel like he doesn't hold a candle to you, but he did show us some of the wonderful things that you can do with exposed infill.
Oh, yes. With the ornaments,
and truth. I mean, and to be fair, your exposed infill does spell out words and letters, but you use actual programming language to do it. And he was able to do it using Slicer and using Fusion 360. So much more, so much more kind of streamlined this process was. But the exposed infill aspect of it, I really enjoyed learning about that. And so he's also right now, the things that he's doing a lot of work really building up his YouTube following on his YouTube station. And he's got two maker spaces. And as someone who runs a makerspace, I know that's very, very time consuming. He got his school's makerspace to the point where it can be self-sustaining.
Which is huge, right?
It's really huge. It means that you're not the only person that has the knowledge on how machines work. You're not the only person that sees the potential for the technology. You're one of several people in a community that are moving the use of the technology forward. So that's substantial. And I have seen that work, and I've seen that not work as well. And so it's really, it's a testament to Vladimir to be able to kind of turn things over a bit and let it kind of grow on its own and move things forward. And then he's going to, he's also in 2025, he's going to post some regular projects on YouTube talking about Fusion as well. And he's going to include makerspace updates and projects. So we got to make sure we're looking out to see his shop talk about Autodesk on his podcast. And this is he's got a link for it as well.
Yeah, he's recorded an episode of the Shop Talk podcast for
already.
Autodesk, and so that episode should be airing. So keep an eye out for it in 2025. And I just put a link so you can watch and support Vladimir.
Absolutely, good stuff.
Ooh, I get alley cats. Yes. All right. June 11th, 2024, we had our first European guest, and that was Alley Katz from Cats Create. Their episode was one of our longest, and it was chock full of tidbits and tips and tricks and details. And one of our main focuses on that episode was slowing things down, because we're in the age of high-speed printing, and all the printers are going fast. And we were talking about scenarios, the complicated overhangs or complicated prints, where it's beneficial to slow things down. And on that kind of theme, Ali talked about TPU and shared a lot of specific settings and best practices for printing TPU. And then on as far as updates that are coming along, let me throw this over here. Allie can update you much better than I could. They did a post on their Patreon, just a retrospective of 2024. This just posted yesterday, and they go over how the year went. Like Al, there were some health challenges, but also like Al, like the call of making is just still there and still very strong and maybe even therapeutic. And I think despite the health challenges, Ali traveled a lot to Open Sauce and Dragon Con, and I think their favorite project this year was this Axe base from Adventure Time. And
Wow.
there is a whole YouTube video on this project. I will grab the link and throw it into the chat for you so you can learn more. And I'll also throw in this Patreon post is very well worth a read. It's public, so you don't have to be a paid patron to read it and absorb it. So I'll throw that into the chat as well.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, it's definitely definitely worth checking out. Allie. What was notable about Allie is that I feel like our conversation with her not only was enlightening for us to learn new things about printing techniques and TPU and speed and things like that, but I also feel like after she was on How Would You Slice That?
After they were on.
I'm sorry, after they were on How Would You Slice That? Thank you. After they were on How Would You Slice That? I really feel like Allie had a bit of a resurgence, if you will. So there was more Allie in the community after we talked about and really were so appreciative. I felt like we're appreciative of the things that she was able to do. You know, sometimes yeah. So I'm really glad that she was on there, and I really had a great time meeting her.
All right.
Yeah, and then we had Callie Keene, and so Callie is someone that is a little bit different for How Would You Slice That. He's more of a manufacturer. He's somebody that really knows how to talk about taking an idea, and if your objective is to monetize it, he's an expert at those types of things. He's helped many people move from hobbyists to business participant type of thing. And he talked a lot about that process and manufacturing itself. And so he not only 3D prints, he CNCs. He does top secret manufacturing, and he does a lot of kind of things that are elevated as far as execution in the digital fabrication world. So, I really am glad that Callie was able to come on and talk to How Would You Slice That, because it gave us an opportunity to see that there are ways in which we as community members can take this practice of 3D printing in any direction that we really see fit. And I think that as time goes by, someone like Callie and his contributions are going to help more and more people realize the different things they have as far as execution for 3D printing. And of course, Callie is a moving target, and so we weren't able to catch up with him and see what he's doing this year. But he's got a substantial online presence on Facebook.
We can make an educated guess that he is still thriving in the entrepreneur space and
absolutely
helping.
Yes, and if you check him out on Facebook, let me see if I'm sorry. Let me see here. Facebook for Callie.
And while you're doing that, I'll throw in the Red Blue Collective, which is Callie's
Red Blue Collective is how you can find out more about what's going on with Callie and the things that they're working on.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So then next we had on July 23rd, 2024, we had Sarah from Lab Craft Studio, which she's kind of outside my usual circles. I discovered her through someone linked to one of her YouTube videos and a Facebook group. So I kind of just cold called her. They're like, hey, would you like to be on the show? And I'm so glad that she wasn't weirded out by a stranger reaching out and that she came on, because what she's doing with combining 3D printing with traditional crafting and other crafting techniques is just amazing and inspiring. She opened my eyes to sublimation for 3D printing.
Yes.
It wasn't on my radar, but she started doing some experiments on her YouTube station, and it was just a really neat application. And now I'm doing it maybe too much.
No,
but,
definitely.
yeah. And so when she was on, she just showed us all these different ways of combining like resin and acrylic and, the sublimation with 3D printing. And then she also showed us how to use Maker World to make some custom gifts out of images. As far as to what she's up to right now, she is still experimenting away and doing a lot of great things on her YouTube station. One of the neat things that she discovered through her, it's an ad, but when the ad's over, I'm going to share my screen. She combined acrylic with 3D printing and discovered that she can make those seal the acrylic in, and it's kind of watertight. So what she's been doing, trying to find a really good spot when I share my screen, it's like print in place, where she puts the acrylic in and seals it. And she's also putting, I think, mineral oil. So she's making these little snow globes right on her bamboo. I can make this full screen for you. Then another little neat thing that she did on her YouTube station is she has a laser engraver. And so she put it to use for Thanksgiving by engraving a pumpkin pie. Like, she had a pumpkin pie and she engraved a custom message into it. And so back to the snow globe, she just pulled it right off the printer. Wow. And there it is.
Huh. Man. Yeah. I mean, what I love about what Sarah's doing is that, yes, she's somebody that kind of is newer to the practice, and you can almost tell that she's newer because the ideas that she is able to kind of make real are things that we have not seen before, which is very refreshing,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that Sarah came on and showed us all those different techniques. And the sublimation, I think that is something that is going to have a lot of legs going forward. Being able to use multiple processes to produce something is incredibly important, especially when it comes to being able to make things attractive or relatable or more decorative, which you've been able to do. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's any such thing as too much sublimation.
Doing too much.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing because it's original and it's really getting things done. It's really really expanding the kind of the world of 3D printing past what it is past what it is that we've experienced before, and that's invaluable. That really is, that's innovation. And I'm really, really glad to be doing How Would You Slice That with you, because being able to see innovation in real time is something that a lot of people don't get to see in their lifetimes. So yes, I'm really, really glad she came on the show, because that was very impactful for me.
I heard a quote on the podcast Radio Lab in the last 6 months or so, where they said to the beginner, the possibilities are endless, but to the expert, there's few. And so, I mean, I think Sarah's an example of that, where she's coming in with fresh eyes and seeing these possibilities that maybe who I've been doing this a while, would not have thought of. Right.
Absolutely. And yes, when you're beginning, you're like, wow, this technology can do anything. And then you proceed to making it happen, So yeah, that's thank you for that quote. That's awesome.
Radio Lab.
Well, still though, you remembered it. So next was Denise.
Oh, you get Denise.
Oh yeah. So Denise, she's a 3D printer reviewer, and she has gone through a lot of slicers, a lot of them. And so, and she shows different ways in which she manages, different ways in which she uses the slicers. She has been coming to the Rep and 3D Printopia festivals for a long time. Season is in her attendance, and she's also talked about her experience of putting together Death Racers. The Death Racer information was really, really fun to consume. I was inspired by it. I did not get a kit, but I can get one probably in January, February. Get one mailed to me. And then she talked about the Layer Connections art project and how just about anybody can contribute as long as you go through the proper channels to do so. So that was really, really great. I really enjoyed meeting me. I met Denise, somebody that was at 3D Printopia. Do you have a picture?
I have a different picture queued up, but I do
okay.
have.
Well,
I have Layer Connections at 3D Printopia real quick.
Okay, yeah,
so
go ahead and put that up.
Do that, but so the Layer Connections project as anticipated.
Yes.
Visit 3D Printopia and got some new contributions.
Yes, yeah, and then so we're able to contribute to Layer Connections, and it finally made its final journey to the United Kingdom in December, and over the course of the project, Denise herself traveled 8,850 miles with the project and its designer, 3D Print Bunny, and earlier this month, through an auction, they had a final bid of 750 pounds, and so Layer Connections is staying overseas. Its new home is now 3D 360, and you can see the result of their collecting the
these are the new owners. And
Wow.
early on, like bidding started slow, so I thought I had a decent chance of getting Layer Connections to reside here in Virginia. Let's start making like Ocacon, Virginia, little meccas on the 3D printing map. But I got quickly outbid.
Wow!
So the new owners is 3D 360 in Manchester.
And what's once again, just to how would you slice that in the community, talking about the community therein? The big thing about it is that what jumps out at me is that the international nature of it and the dedication of the community members, and also Denise as well, to make the whole thing kind of come together. So yes, wow, once again, over and over and over again, each guest has really been has contributed in such a major way to my kind of seeing how 3D printing is, the potentials of it, and the things that we've done, things that we have yet to do, and the things that are possible. So I really appreciated Denise coming on.
Right. And then in September, we kept a 3D Printopia theme. And so we had on September 17th, Dustin Dixon join us. He is the general manager of Printed Solid, but also he had a lot of success with the 3D Printed Derby, which is one of the events at 3D Printopia. So in his episode, he showed us his design process for his Derby cars in Fusion 360, which, by the way, he always challenges himself to do those Derby cars in a very short time span. One of my biggest takeaways there that he taught me was density settings in Prusa Slicer, which I had never looked at, didn't even know that they existed, but especially in situations where you're printing Derby cars, you want to plan for or be conscious of the weight. He showed us how you do your density settings, and that can help you estimate the weight of your final print.
And also touching on that 3D printed Derby thing, the other side of it is that he also talked about tolerances and talked about different heights and how to get the wheels just right and everything. And Dustin was I really enjoyed talking with him. And of course, the other part is that about Dustin is he's somebody that kind of represents I'm using the word, the history of 3D printing and the future. I mean, I remember when Printed Solid came to the East Coast Rep Festival for the first time. I remember talking to Dustin about trying to order parts and materials from Printed Solid. So, I mean, although it's been a kind of a distant knowledge of each other, Dustin and I have known each other for probably about 6 or 7 years already. So it's great to have him on the show, showing off what he's doing and moving forward. Yes. And so what is he doing now?
Oh, okay. Well, what he's doing now is, despite working full time, which we've mentioned, he is the general manager of Printed Solid. He's continued to do some impressive makes. For Halloween, he and his daughter did a Ghostbusters theme. So of course he added a 3D printed element to that. I watched another YouTube video so I could try to pronounce this right. Neutrona wand. He did a 3D printed Neutrona wand in Jesse PLA, Printed Solid Jesse PLA, of course. And then you may be able to tell if you paid attention to his derby cars in that episode. He is a big Star Wars fan. So one of his most recent projects is doing his very own droid. And you can tell from the chair here, the scale, it's quite big. It's quite big and quite impressive.
Wow. And then on a more kind of practical and specific note, Printed Solid is now the stateside distributor for Prusa machines and filaments, right? And so that was big. It's not Justin personally, but what he's managing is really another phase change in 3D printing as well. So it was really I was glad to run into him at 3D Printopia at the Printed Solid booth. And although Joseph Prusa was there, he was looking a little bit under the weather, so I didn't go say hello to him. But he was there with Joseph Prusa, and I'm excited for the community to see what grows out of that partnership.
Yeah, and another on the Printed Solid news, another new thing that came out is they released their Jesse Elixir, which one of our later guests, Abby Brown, is used a lot and showcased a lot with her ornaments and stuff.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And then next, of course, we had Joey Gasper, and Joey is from Gerari 3D. He was one of the most post-stream views. People went back and checked that one out pretty substantially.
Yeah.
He talked about his modular drawer system, and you know what? Like that, I probably was responsible for about half of those post-stream views.
Oh, you were?
I was excited about the drawer system. I mean, the Gridfinity and the whole idea of making smaller or modular or things that you can put together or take apart, and just talking to him about the evolution that he was able to witness within himself and putting together Gridfinity, the different ways that the drawers came together, the different ways that they were fixed, and how they all evolved over time and as different iterations. It was really like a case study in I'm gonna use the word the potential that this technology has. One person can go from idea to production, and then to really distributed manufacturing based upon the quality of the idea that they have. And so I'm really, really, really glad that Joey was able to come on, because that was something that oftentimes people don't allow themselves to consider. And of course, now Joey didn't. A year ago, Joey didn't think he was going to be eligible to start a 3D printing club on printables, but guess what? He set up a booth at the 3D Printing Festival, but 2024 has now made it such that he can have his own 3D printing club. He's now gone to a myriad of events, and he seems more motivated than ever has been. He's released the latest Gen 2 tabletop kit V2, and we got a link for that.
Yeah, we sure do.
Uh-huh.
This was released a little more than a week ago.
Wow. Look at that. And then of course, Pez Liz had done some covers for Gridfinity drawers.
Oh, Karen Chow.
I'm sorry. So Karen Chow did. Karen Chow did covers for the Gridfinity drawers. And those were really, really fun. That was really what I really liked about that, was just kind of two worlds kind of coming together to really reinforce the community with that. So I was really, really glad to see that Karen had done that, and how those kind of come together. But the V2, I'm excited about the V2. I had somebody ask me to put in a drawer somewhere to kind of keep a few knickknacks here and there. And of course I said yes, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to print some Gridfinity, of course. So So having Joey around is has been really in our having Joey on How Would You Slice That was really a great experience, and I'm glad that we're able to get him to talk about the V2 coming out and now share this at this moment in time, and really looking forward to seeing what he does in the future.
And behind the scenes, I think we had a whole other episode of How Would You Slice That with him after we went off the air.
Yes.
We talked for like an hour and
Yeah.
talked about scanning and everything. So it was
Yes.
great. So some quick notes about the new drawers. Like you could do the tabletop drawers and they stack, vertically very well. This new update allows you to expand horizontally. And I believe he said that this is already by far his most successful product, and it's only been out a little more than a week. And Joey is in the chat, so he can fact check me live if he needs to.
Well deserved success, Joey. Well deserved success. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, and then I think one of my favorite things about his episode was thrown in at the very end, where he talked about, he had this drawer faceplate that also had his maker chip design in, and he had imported in real maker chips and angled it, and just use scale tools and rotate to make that happen, which was just a really inventive, neat way to do that.
I'm glad that he did that too. Actually, I'm glad I'm glad in a different kind of way. I'm glad that he did that, because all of a sudden now my life is, I'm using the word, full of maker chips. I've got a maker chip caddy that my daughter wanted me to make, and we made that for her. And then for 3D Printopia, I wound up upgrading my hardware to get a smooth build plate to get a little bit better image for my maker chip. That is from, let's see here. Do I have to flip it around?
If you want to pull it up again, Lawrence, I'll put you in solo layout.
Okay. So that is Adams is the school that everybody went to in Revenge of the Nerds. And then on the other side, I had the iconic Nerds rant from Revenge of the Nerds. I think that somehow I don't know why I decided to settle on a nerd theme, but I did. But of course, there were so many other maker chips that came from 3D Printopia that we wound up either collecting or printing ourselves. And I just showed you that I'm using the same concept at work. So yes, thank you, Joey. Thank you. So many things that we've done as a result, just getting a little bit of information.
All right.
Yeah.
And then November 5th, 2024. Right. Oh, wait, I did Joey, so you should go.
Okay.
Did I do Joey?
For a second. No, I did Joey. You're next. Okay.
On November 5th, 2024, we had Pez Liz of Twitch fame, and she just loves color, and she goes by people have called her the color swap king and queen, and she even has a show called In Living Color. So it may come as no surprise, on her episode we talked about color, and she particularly emphasized that you don't need an MMU or an AMS to do colorful prints. You can pick the right filaments, or you can do what she likes to do, which is layer swaps, which also kind of relates to the HueForge software. Liz is no doubtedly continuing to celebrate the community and color on her live streams on Twitch, so please check that out. I'll throw a link in the chat. And you'll also be able to see her on January 11th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on the 1440 Makers charity live stream, which we're going to push again at least once at this episode.
And then actually, one thing about Pezlis about Liz coming to our show was that not only was she color swapping, but she was color swapping to aim at getting specific colors before HueForge was even thought of.
You might be thinking of Abby.
Am I thinking of Abby?
I think you're thinking of Abby, but they both Yeah, they're both very colorful and
Yeah.
wonderful people.
Good point. Okay, well then I am thinking of Abby. Thank you for that transition. Abby Brown came and visited us and talked to her about efforts for the Christmas Community Print Drive, printing 3D printed toys for children. And she talked about how she used exposed infills to texture her designs. And in some cases, the textures added for a wow factor of something that may not be a particularly exciting print, but elevated the level of excitement for something that was pretty straightforward. And so for Abby, as you already would think, all the gifts from the 3D printing community have been delivered to families all over the world, and we've got a link to
some
that
videos of
video for that. Oh,
these are the gifts being delivered to a local YMCA to the Loyal Moses family.
oh,
So.
Wow.
They have lots of great videos of them getting packaged in the Polymaker warehouse, and so a lot of goodies being delivered.
Wow, and she continues to design and print. Her latest design was just released yesterday, which is a full collection of curved letters that you can use on your own projects.
Yep,
We got a link for that.
I got a link for that I'll throw into the chat. And then there's one more update.
Yeah, and then of
there.
course, and then she'll be she's thinking forward like I've been trying to about Valentine's Day for 5 years running now. She has been making something for Valentine's Day and distributing it to her children's school classes for school Valentines. Everybody remembers that, right? And so she's got a series of models for Valentine's Day as well, which I definitely will go ahead and check out because that's an exceedingly good idea. That's a very good idea. So I'm really, really glad that Abby was able to share time with us and do the color layering that was so intense.
All right, thanks. You talked the just amount of time for me to catch up on those links. Thank you, Lawrence.
No problem.
It's like you're like perfectly synced.
That's what happens when we're working together for a year.
And we're already here to the last month, which is December. And on December 3rd, 2024, we had the pleasure of having one of my very first 3D printing ambassadors on the show. And that would be none other than Andrew Sink, who is just an enthusiastic advocate for all things 3D printing. He shared his best practices and tips for making 3D printers from scanning, including some things that I didn't even think of, like the material would dictate like shiny metallic things may not necessarily scan as well, which does make sense when you think about it, but I needed Andrew to articulate it. Even though it's only been a few weeks, I did reach out to Andrew to see if he had any updates, and of course he does, because he's Andrew Sink and he's always exploring. He recently got a positron, and he has, quote, been playing a ton with that lately. And his first print that he did on the positron, it should have been better on the spot here, but here, I'll grab it for you. But his first print on the positron, which is famous for printing upside down. So Andrew used the famous upside, oh no. Well, no visual aid, but he used it for an upside down benchy on the upside down printer.
That's all right, Vicky. I got your back. Andrew, although he didn't talk about his practice of doing SLA printing, he did send me something in the mail. SLA printed frog. And
of course it's a frog.
Yeah. And you know, I really I'm glad that he came on the show. You know, for me, what I really learned the most about from Andrew was the kind of going once again the old versus the new in 3D printing, because we were able to go all the way back to the kind of one of the original kind of, I'm gonna use the word beefs with 3D printing, which is who owns the artwork, you know, who owns the image, who owns the three-dimensional representation. Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, beautiful. And so Andrew really kind of gave me a great insight into the history that I've been observing but not engaged with of scanning and publishing three-dimensional scans of classical artworks. And I really enjoyed learning about the different surfaces and how they react and how to get the best scans out of those. So Andrew was Andrew. I'm glad that I get to meet people that are fun and engaging and get people to talk to on how to slice that. And Andrew's no exception. So I'm glad he got his positron working. Yes, absolutely. Glad he's got his positron working. That's a neat machine.
You have the last guest.
Oh boy. Okay. And then finally, we had Chris Russell from Practical Printing, and he really helped us with our last minute wrapping tasks, which I appreciated. I didn't, he showed us how to extrude and hollow out in order to make a gift wrap boxes that are specific in size and also reusable sources there, so they're more sustainable. And how he showed us how to use base mode and through Princess Slicer to make that happen. He also co-hosts the 1440 Makers charity live stream, which once again is going to be held January 11th and 12th. And so I'm really looking forward to tuning into that and getting involved with that as well. I think that having a community focus and doing things that are charitable or part of the overall community is completely one of the more unexpected parts of the 3D printing practice for me. And so, Chris was a great way to end the year. When I do get the opportunity to wrap something that doesn't already have a box, I definitely know what to do.
Yeah, and you don't even need a 3D modeling program to do it.
Nope, do it right in the slicer, which is wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, that is it. That's all. No more guests. We can look to the future.
Yeah. Or first I thought maybe, we do the show, we're highlighting guests, so you think that we're doing them a favor, but we're not. We're getting a lot out of the show too. And I thought maybe we'd share some of the things that we're grateful for that we got out of the show. If you're up for it, Lawrence.
Sure, absolutely, yes. So if for me, I'm grateful for some of the way in which being on How Would You Slice That, co-hosting How Would You Slice That, has given me the opportunity to think in multiple dimensions. As a 3D practitioner, when I got my A1 Mini with AMS, I don't think I used multicolor for about 3 or 4 months. It was easier. It was much more, understandable for me to stay with single color. And being on How Would You Slice That, I started my color practice and really kind of accelerated it, and really the guests and the information that they've shared. I'm thankful for my ability to think in so many different ways, to use the technology for, contributing something for my workplace, or using the technology in different ways to really think about producing that wow factor in people. When I first started 3D printing, I could produce something out of plastic. Somebody would say, "Hey, I want this," or "I want that." I'd have something in my hand a couple hours later, and that was a wow factor. But now the wow factor is producing something in hand and then having it be attractive, or have it be multicolor, or having it be practical or more durable, or the exact solution that somebody's looking for. And our guests and being on How Would You Slice That has really, I wouldn't have been able to do that without co-hosting this show. So I'm inordinately thankful for the opportunity to kind of think differently about my practice.
Nice. So on my side, I think I saw kind of the same thing as you, where I'm mostly print my own designs, or I'm always like just doing the things that are in my comfort level.
Yeah.
And doing the show did bring me to explore things that I wouldn't explore. So I have some little examples here, which we might have seen through, like while we were naturally going. But as we're preparing for episodes, I want to look knowledgeable. So, I'll try to print one of their designs or maybe use one of their techniques and everything like that. And so, what I ended up with was, just the act of doing that, not only am I learning and I have those lessons that I'm carrying with me, now I have in my house like little souvenirs of the show of the past year and all the great personalities that we met. So, of course, I have a layers connection, layer by layer ring that I have that I finally used this quantum matter hackers quantum that I've been saving forever and not using. And then Sparky Phase 5. I again, until this year, I didn't print a lot of other people's models. I was always printing my own models, and now I'm printing Tessa's model and just totally like getting more inspired of like how can I make something similar or take advantage of what I'm learning here. We'll have to come back to this, but it's Karen Chow's magnets. I printed a ton of them because they're so adorable. I think of all the souvenirs, there's like Karen Chow influence in many more that come ahead. So she probably is the one that snuck into my souvenir models the most. And Alley Cats, I wanted to print their twisty vase. I had to fail, so I got to learn and heed the advice of slowing things down. And I also printed their ultimate picture frame, which I mean, we saw this later with Jari 3D, just beautiful. What's it called? The
modular
the gaps. Frame. Yeah, it's beautiful clearances for the pieces to fit together and very flexible with what you could print. And now this piece hangs this watercolor. I love the mountains. So this watercolor of the mountains and Alley Katz's frame greets me every time I go up the stairs. So now, that's a souvenir of How Would You Slice That and people in the community. Sarah from Labcraft Studios, of course, taught us about sublimation. I don't have a sublimation printer here, but I learned through preparing for Sarah's episode that you can print uncolored transparency sheets. So that's one of those prints. Jari 3D, before his new revision, I did one of the first revision of the tabletop drawers, which now are holding my when I'm gluing ornaments or gluing things, I use like little binder clips. So they're holding my binder clips, they're holding my glue, they're holding my sandpaper, and keeping that a lot more organized in my office. And then, of course, I have Karen Chow, sublimation from Sarah, and I have a Karen Chow faceplate. So there's another Karen Chow influence there. Oh my gosh, this one's one of my favorites, which we talked about Vladimir. Yes. And he was designing ornaments with exposed infill patterns. And so I made myself a clock that now hangs on my wall. And now, every time I look to see what time it is on the clock, I can think about How Would You Slice That? And just some good memories there. Oh, this one was good. I bought HueForge, but I was not experimenting or playing with it or whatnot. But I had to prepare for my Pezliz episode. I mean, I couldn't be embarrassed in front of her, right? So she had done some early experiments with HueForge. So I grabbed one of her flowers or her leaves and printed that to learn a little more about the technique. And then I played a little more this is the most photographed point of the Appalachian Trail, McAfee's Knob, which is in Virginia, where the layer connections piece could have been if I had more money. But so it's preparing for the Pezliz episode. I'm experimenting with HueForge and getting to learn it a little more. I'm still in black and white territory. I have a lot to learn, but I think that's what 2025, How Would You Slice It, is for.
Yeah.
And then we have Abby Brown. For her episode, I printed one of her mathematic models and got to play with supports and also exposed infill on the side in Cura. So I'm almost saying Cura Slicer. Let's see. I think I'm getting and here because of Chris Russell.
Yes.
This is his gift box that he did directly in Prusa Slicer with no 3D modeling. This was a flat gift box that I did using the sublimation hack with the transparency sheet that I learned from Sarah. But the unfolded box also has Karen Chow influence here because she did some thank you notes with a little crease in it. And I went and, I was printing those and I saw how well they folded even in PLA. So then I just used her crease dimensions to make my gift box. And then I don't know what's coming next. Oh, yes, of course. So Andrew Sink.
Yes.
Andrew Sink was teaching us about scanning. I haven't done anything with scanning. But again, I want to look knowledgeable, especially in front of Andrew Sink. And so I got the Polycam software. And because of that, this is a double sentimental piece because my great uncle, he had carved this little dog out of wood. And that's what I scanned. I scanned it and then I colored it in Bamboo Studio and printed it away. So a double sentimental thing there. And I might be running.
Oh.
There's more Karen Chow. And then, when we got to the Denise episode and we're talking about layer connections, I printed a layer connection rose. And also, Karen Chow happened to have a layer connection box to carry your layer connection rose to the Rip Rap Festival or 3D printing festival of your choice. And so I printed one and, again, exploiting that sublimation technique hack from Sarah. And is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. But it's still a lot, and I see this, and it's warming my heart, and I feel like I've learned so much this year. And I mean, I think it goes to show, like, I don't know, just putting yourself a little out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And there's so much to learn from everybody in this community.
Right. So much that can be done, things that we haven't even touched the surface of yet. So yes, I share the same sentiment. I've not been as thorough as you have in producing things. I'm more take the information and then start messing around with it afterwards. So, but I definitely feel that, getting into HueForge and making maker coins and being part of the community, couldn't have done it without Howard Slice that. And looking forward to doing some many more things this coming year.
Yeah.
All
right. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we kind of?
No, I think I got it all. Yeah. No, thank you everybody, and we'll be seeing you in a week.
Yes. So we are going to continue the show in 2025, which is good because there's so many more people to talk to and learn from. The next episode is next Tuesday, which is January 7th. And we're going to be joined by one of my Blender buddies. I'll be Joe Larson, the 3D printing professor.
Nice. That's going to be wonderful.
Okay. And then I think another hard part of the show is always thanking people at the end. But everybody, I know it's an unusual time and it's in the middle of everybody's winter break. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on your Christmas Eve, and maybe you're putting off running to the store to get last minute eggnog or something just to watch us, and I appreciate it. And appreciate everybody that's been here the whole year. We do also want to give a shout out to Mike, Never Let the Machines Win, who has been a steadfast moderator for us for the whole year, and always great with putting those links in to remind people to subscribe and smash that like button. And I think he's also been working in Prime, into his statements, so because we are on Prime Tuesdays.
Yes.
Yep. Here we go. Please like. There you go.
Yay, thank you,
Mike doing what Mike does best. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Mike. Absolutely. All right. Everybody, if you're in Australia already, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
I think Europe, you're still in 2024, and so I hope everybody has a wonderful end to their 2024 and just a wonderful, delightful 2025. Thank you so much.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the new year.
Bye.